What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cab Show. Shout out to Brandon Moreno, baby. Against all odds, I love this kid. He is the current UFC flyweight champion, baby. Yes, he is a champion. Against all odds, he's been an underdog most of his life. His MMA debut was in 2011, but obviously he became champion this year. It was amazing to me, right? I mean, again, like I said, just being that underdog role, right? He understands that, and he fought his way all the way to this, and he's probably one of the most humble champions I've ever saw. I mean, we could say that, right? I mean, after he won and choked that dude out, it was one of them things where it was like we saw him crying. We saw his opponent pick him up, which is so much respect, right? The former champion picking Brandon Moreno up, it's incredible, and I feel like Moreno, he's just humble, dude, and I feel like that's good, right? Because like the great Mike Tyson once said, the world will throw humbleness upon you if you're just gonna be overconfident, over cocky, so to speak, right? I mean, arrogant wise. But to me, I'm telling you, Brandon Moreno, shout out to him, man. He's actually the first Mexican-born UFC champion, dude. It's amazing. And I understand Cain Velasquez, that was a long time ago, but I don't believe he was actually born in Mexico. So yes, this is true. Brandon Moreno, the first Mexican-born UFC champion. Homage to him. But this is an incredible story because it's one of them stories where it's like he just never gave up, right? He never gave up on his vision. He never gave up on the goal on his sight. He manifested it. He even said before the even championship bout, before this even happened, this was a couple years ago. He, quote unquote, this is what he said after he beat this guy pretty good, right? He basically knocked the guy out on his feet, then he ended up choking him out, but he said, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I promise you one day I will be champion, dude. And ever since that day, dude, he said that, it was just like, wow, dude. Obviously, a lot of people say I'm going to be champion one day and don't become it, but Brandon, he manifested it, dude. He saw the vision. He just never gave up. Like he said in the Octagon interview, dude, he was like, I promise you one day I will become champion one day, dude. And once I heard that, I was like, man, it's just so inspiring, right? It's inspiring because it's like the underdog really came up and rose above the top. He beat opponents like he was 5-1 favorite opponents that he was fighting. And he ends up choking them out and basically knocking them out on the foot. So I like Brandon Moreno. I think the difference is with him is why he's champion now is his really attention to detail, knowing his opponent's weaknesses, right? I mean, we look at that last fight. He really knew that, hey, if I somehow get him down on the ground, I'm gonna eventually choke him out. But if he keeps standing with them, I think Brandon Moreno's under game really is definitely his stand-up, his striking ability, and I think he can really start improving on that as well. That's the thing, is like you can always improve in every aspect of MMA, right? From your leg kicks to the jiu-jitsu, whatever the case is. But for Moreno, he wasn't really a striker coming in when he made his MMA debut back in 2011, dude, over a decade ago. That wasn't his expertise, dude. It was like submission game. So I think, him adding even more tools, he's going to defend that belt, and I do think he will be successful defending that UFC title belt. Seriously, dude. I mean, like I said, dude, it's one of them things. It's just like, it's an amazing to me. It really is, and it's just like, here in America, you can really come from, you can come from humble beginnings and really just take off, dude, and really just put your mind to something, and you can do it. That's how powerful human beings are, dude. I like I said, I most up respect for Moreno, dude. Like, just so much inspiration, dude. Especially after the fight, when he became champion, he's like, I worked so hard for this. I sacrificed a lot for this moment, and that's the key right there, right? You gotta sacrifice things to get where you want to go in life. That's just how it is, right? You just have to. You just don't. You don't just wake up one day and become Mark Cuban overnight. It's like you gotta put the work in, right? And that's what Brandon Moreno did. He didn't just wake up one day and became UFC champion in 2021. He's been grinding way before even 2011 when he made his debut. Just think all the stuff he had to get to make that debut, dude. And he's been in and out sometimes in the UFC. Like he was in the Ultimate Fighter in 2016 and lost to this guy named Alexandra. I forget I really how to pronounce his last name, but anyway, so he lost to this cat twice, right? And this cat, Alex, he came out and said, "Look, dude, he knows I'm better than him. He does not want to want these problems, right? He's basically calling out Brandon Moreno, right? He's basically saying, I submitted him once, I'll beat him. He beat him 30-26." And then he said, the next time I fight him, I'm going to knock him out. And to me, it's like, hey, Moreno now, he's a different fighter than when he fought Alex, man. Really straight up, dude. Like, I understand this was back in 2016, about 5 years ago. So to me, a lot can change then, right? Definitely in the fight game. So much can change, dude. You just never know. Like, you could go through injuries. You could tear your ACL and just really not be the same fighter anymore. We see a lot of fighters. I mean, not just fighters. We're talking different athletes in different sports where they blow their ACL out and they're just not the same player anymore. They're just not. But, we do have seen people come back and perform great, obviously in different positions. I mean, even Tom Brady blew his leg out in 2008, missed the whole season. So, just those type of injuries, right? And they add up. In the fight game, you're just more injury prone. I mean, really in any other sport, right? I mean, we could say football, you're injury prone, but I would say the UFC really because, one hit, that's it. That's all it takes. One mistake is all it takes for you to get knocked out, and that's it, dude. It's over with. The whole fight is done, dude. Everything you put in your whole training camp, the 3 months or however long the training camp was, then basically that's it. It's over, dude. One mistake, one slip up, being overconfident. But to me, Brandon Moreno, his another strong suit was definitely his attention to detail, understanding when the shots are going to come, just kind of feeling it out, right? Just having that instinct, man. And I think your instinct, man, can really just take you far places that you never thought you would go, right? Just being fearless. And I think, Moreno, he's a dog, dude. He's got that dog in him. Before he even got to the championship fight, he was dogging other cats. His UFC record's at 19-5-2. He had 2 draws, 5 losses, but to me, he's the current flyweight champion, so he is the number 1 champion right now, dude. Straight up, dude. I think he can really hold that. If he stays hungry, which I think he will. I don't think he'll kind of like veer off, kind of like Conor McGregor a little bit. McGregor, he made all that money, number 1 on Forbes athlete list this year. I just think a lot of the hunger we saw in the Poirier fight were just a lot of the hunger that the old McGregor we just don't see anymore. I don't think that's gonna happen to Moreno. I don't think he's gonna veer off and not get hungry. I think the hunger's always gonna be there for him. I really do. Just he's that type of person. He's really humble. He's blessed to where he's at right now, and he understands that. So I think when in his future fights, he's gonna understand. Hey, I'm still hungry. I am the champion for a reason here. I didn't just become champion off straight luck. Yes, I understand. To become champion, sometimes it does take a little luck involved, but not all luck. So I think Moreno, dude, he's gonna stay in there. I think he's gonna stay at top. Hopefully for the next 5 years. I know that seems like a long time in the fight game, but we have to understand John Jones. Look at him. He's been dominating since like he came into the UFC. What, like 2012-ish, around the same time as Moreno. I mean, dude, maybe 2013, a couple years after, but even then, it's like John Jones has been dominating since, and I understand this year he hasn't fought yet. I do believe the UFC needs to push Jones. I don't know what John Jones is thinking right now. I think he needs to add more weight. That's what the problem is, but my thing is, dude, John Jones is one of the greatest athletes we've ever seen in UFC history, dude. He will go down in the history books as top 5 greatest UFC fighters ever, if not number 1, but yes, I get it. There's some downsides to that, and that's for a different time, but, for Moreno, the future's super bright for this kid, man. It's just, everything's going right for him. His family, everything with the UFC. I think, what's next for him? I want to be opposed to that rematch with the Alex guy. The Alex guy got the best of Moreno. He's calling shots right here. So if I'm Dana White, I'm like saying, hey, we gotta talk business, whatever the case is, make things happen, right? And you have to understand, for the championship fighters who have the belts, you're gonna give them a little leverage. Just like with the refs. And I understand a lot of people get mad at the judging, but it's like, obviously the refs are gonna give more leverage to the championship fighters. Like, seriously, if it's going into the 5th round and it's even, they're leaning more towards the champion. That's just how it is, because he's the champion. He gets more leverage that way. We have some big UFC fights coming up. At the end of the year, Usman versus Colby Covington. I can't wait for that. That's going to be another crazy matchup. But I think Moreno, I think he does need a fight, before the end of the year. Why not? I think that's the best for active UFC fighters and definitely champions is to stay active. Just continuing to go. I think when UFC fighters only fight once or twice a year, I don't think that's really necessarily good. I think if UFC fighters fight at least 3 to 4 times a year, you're ready. You're in that routine. I think even four times a year. I know that sounds like a lot, but in reality, dude, you have to understand, like, some of these training camps are maybe 2 months long, and they're going hard. I understand. Some of them can be longer, but I just think a lot of those training camps is like, dude, if we're just in that routine, right, where we see some of these cats now, like, for instance, like McGregor, or even Nate Diaz, they take the long breaks off a year or two. I just think, when you're fighting 3 to 4 times a year, I think you're just really that much better. And we saw when Khabib was winning, he was fighting 2 or 3 times a year, just continuing to fight. The top dogs, Max Holloway, fighting all the time. So I think, for Moreno, I think just stay active. Stay active, continue to get better. And I think, like I said earlier, I think his striking's really going to be the difference maker here. And I'm not worried about his ground game. He's got a great ground game, jiu-jitsu, all that, but I just think Moreno, I think he really needs to understand, like, different types of punches that are coming in, and I think that's really going to elevate his game, and I think his coaches understand that, but to me, just him winning the championship belt, man, it was just surreal. I was watching it live, and it was one of them things that was just like, man, like, some people, like, probably cried in that moment, dude, to see him, accomplish his dream, his vision, dude, since he was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, from 2011, his debut, he took some L's. I understand. He understands that, but he bounced back from the L's. And to me, it's amazing to me. Shout out to Brandon Moreno. Like I said, the future is bright for this kid. I can't wait to see what it holds. But like I said, for him, I would stay active. Continue to defend that belt. And as long as you defend that flyweight belt and you defend it 3 times a year, maybe even 2 times a year, dude, you're going to be champion for the next 5 to 10 years, Brandon Moreno. The world is yours. Let's